I wonder if I should just start in the opera in this is a fantastic facility. I don't want to clear the theater that quickly though. Thank you for the warm welcome. So I'm with IBM. I lead our data and AI technical team for the Americas. Today I'm going to walk through this introduction around enterprise AI. I'm going to break this into two parts. So I'm going to start by sharing our point of view on generative and agentic AI. And then I'm going to pivot to talking about our experiences at IBM and how we've adopted this technology with the idea that we'll share our what we call our Client Zero initiative. And the idea is that you'll be able to see yourselves in that story and also think about how you could apply enterprise AI in your businesses. All right, so we were just talking about this space, the growth and the rapid explosion that's brought about by generative AI around the 2022 timeframe, generally with the introduction of ChatGPT and the consumer exposure to what's possible with AI. We all know AI, we've been doing this for many years, decades, but that was an inflection point. It drove tremendous growth in the space. And we saw that lead to experimentation, a period of rapid experimentation with use cases. I'm sure many of you have looked to see like what you experience in your personal life using this technology. You're inspired by what you could do in your enterprises as well. And that led to things like using models and seeing how accurate we could be with AI with those models. And then things like prompt engineering and tuning and leveraging what was available to us and tailoring it to our businesses so we could get additional accuracy through techniques like retrieval augmented generation to use our data with those enterprise AI applications. And that led to the improvement of AI assistants. So moving from robotic experiences to augmenting them to make that much more natural experiences with generative AI. And ultimately now in the last year or two, we've seen the move to agentic AI and agents on the scene and the autonomous ability to act and the exciting opportunities that presents as we move up this AI maturity curve. So as you think about adopting this technology again to the enterprise and think about how you can apply it, like you start to think about how you can have competitive advantage in this space and take AI from this experimental phase to production in your organizations. And I know that's why folks in this room here are interested in exploring the space, just like I am, to see what's possible next, right? Think about how that's applied in your enterprises. And so as you're thinking about that, generally we see you're going to start to need to answer these 5 critical questions. So how do we scale with agents across various verticals without agent sprawl? So thinking about how you use agents in the various parts of your business, but having that feel like an organized experience, an holistic experience. How am I going to not just leverage traditional data, but also unstructured data in all sources? How am I going to govern that data, as well as the models that sit on top of that data, the applications that you write to access that data through those models, and ultimately the agents that take actions and perform against them? And how do I do that wherever I need to do that, whether it's in your data centers or the hyperscalers or in the various clouds or anywhere in between? And how do I do that given the rapid pace of innovation in this space? You've seen models will come and go, providers will come and go, the tremendous amount of innovation and change in the space over the last several years, just accelerating. You want to have the ability to pivot and take advantage of those innovations without being locked into a particular technology. So we've taken an approach to provide a unified platform, starting with that agentic AI and the ability to build and manage agents, underlined and underpinned by trusted data that's provided by strong governance. So I'm going to walk through these 3 pieces as I share that point of view around agentic AI. So let's start with agents. And I'm going to date myself a little bit here, but I'm going back to growing up in the 80s and what seemed like science fiction at the time. I think about this a lot when we think about agentic AI. You think about Scotty coming to the 80s, seeing the advanced technology we had at the time, which was not very advanced. And you think about how he's expecting a seamless experience where he can just talk to an AI, ask questions, get answers, and he just expects that to be there, and he sees this quaint technology. And I'd say, and maybe you in this room would say this as well, I'd say we're closer to this predicted future than ever before. As we look to agentic and generative AI, we're doing the things that Scotty expected to see when he came to the 80s, right? And this evolution in conversational AI, moving from chatbots initially, very robotic, very pre-programmed, deterministic, not providing the experiences that we would have wanted as we start to interact with this technology, we move to virtual assistants, a better experience. Ultimately, with the advent of generative AI, we move to the ability to have much more of a natural interaction and an experience that we actually seek out rather than avoid. The individuals that will reach to a contact center, press 0 as fast as possible to get to a person to talk to, right? We're in a spot where actually self-service is a good experience. And taking that next leap now to agentic autonomous agents that will plan, decide, and act and take action, and that's that next step advance forward in this space. So how do we get started? So our point of view is these agents are dependent upon the tools that they have access to work with the world around them. That can be systems within your businesses. It could be third parties that you're interacting with that you depend upon. So a solid agentic platform starts with a catalog of pre-built agents so that the agents can interact with the world as quickly as possible and be a rapid starting point for each of you in this room that are looking to adopt agentic technology. And then be able to take that pre-built set of agents and tailor them for your needs and your business. And they need to be high quality and dependable. And they need to be able to scale a platform that will allow you to move from tens to hundreds to ultimately thousands of agents that are performing tasks within your business. And they need to be enterprise ready, capable of acting against trusted data with security, and something that you can count on to be in front of your employees and your customers. So speaking of data, if you think about the agents as the F1 vehicle, the race car, if you will, the most advanced technology in the world is really not going to do anything without fuel. And you can think of data as that trusted fuel for the race car that delivers performance. And in our organizations, generally what we see is very little data is actually available to our enterprises. So really only about 1% of enterprise data is currently being leveraged by generative AI use cases. And the overwhelming amount of data is unstructured. And for your agentic AI applications and generative AI applications to be performant, you're going to want to have access to as much of that connected, trustworthy data as possible to fuel your applications. And so you're going to want to access not just traditional structured data, but unstructured data as well in all sources. And that will drive the competitive differentiation in your organizations. To execute against models that are trained on data that's available to everyone is not really going to drive the differentiation and the investment that you're making in your companies with AI to deliver that experience. And so our point of view is you're going to need a solid data foundation to access all that data. And there's going to be pitfalls along the way. There's going to be challenges that are going to stop your advancement in this space. And generally we see that as the vast amount of data that's coming through various sources that you're ingesting and processing. You're going to see low accuracy in some of your AI results. You're going to want to tune that. That can be driven by lack of understanding of relationships and unlabeled data within your systems and a lack of lineage or data quality in those spaces. And it can also be around inconsistent governance of that data where it's not trusted. And it's going to be important to have the proper amount of data security and access to sensitive data and access controls in your organization to remove those roadblocks and let you advance your AI projects. So how do we do that? We would position that you want a unified data platform with certain capabilities underlying that agentic AI architecture. And these are the capabilities that you're going to want to have, that you already have in your data centers as well and in your businesses today, but you're going to want to have these capabilities able to work with one another to bring that full unified governance and data platform capabilities to your organizations. And we'll start with that access to all data. So not just structured data, of course, but semi-structured, unstructured data, and the ability to handle multiple data integration patterns. So being able to, of course, do batch and traditional data movement as needed, but also near real-time access or streaming, the ability to do change data capture and data replication, and to embed visibility into that movement and access of data so that you can be confident that your data integration jobs and pipelines are performing and reliable and delivering the data that these data-hungry AI applications need. And that's where you'll have the need to train these AI models with your data. And to do that, you'll need to have access to a great amount of data. And that will be in traditional data lakehouse type environments where you're combining the flexibility of what we've seen in data lakes for massive amounts of data and quick ingest to the reliability and performance of enterprise data warehouses and the ability to access reliably and use that data. That lakehouse concept is going to be incredibly important in this agentic AI and generative AI applications. The ability to have fit-for-purpose engines, access to open table formats, the ability to process that data and have it available so that we have data intelligence and visibility into the quality, the origin, the lineage of that data, ultimately to make sure that data can be shared as a product with the consumers that we see here on the right, including traditional BI and generative and agentic AI applications. And we would wrap that with security around the entire life cycle so that from ingestion to consumption, that data is secure and we're protected against new and emerging threats in this space. All underpinned by hybrid cloud, again, running where you want to run, whether it's in your data center, in the hyperscalers, or anywhere in between. So continuing with the racing point of view or analogy, I had a colleague ask me, like, why do you put brakes on a car? Why would you put brakes on a car? I think if you're like me, the initial answer is so that you can stop, right? The answer back was, you put brakes on a car so that you can go fast. Like, how fast would you go in a car with no brakes? You wouldn't go very quickly, right? And so governance is that enabler, actually, that's incredibly important to allow you to move more quickly and adopt more quickly your enterprise AI applications. And so as we think about all the things that we're facing in this space, this rapidly changing space, we think about things like changing regulations and the regulatory and compliance things that we need to think about as we're deploying applications into production. We think about various tools internally, homegrown, open source, tools from providers like IBM and others in this space that you're looking to stitch together and provide a holistic story. And you're looking to bring stakeholders together so that you can move fast in this space. And our point of view is that to do that, you need a unified and centralized approach to governance. And so as we bring these factors together, we have that centralized view of governance and security, centralized visibility. We have the ability to understand how our models are performing, monitor them, understand how they were built, the data that goes into them, have a robust ability to manage that enterprise AI, bring stakeholders together. And this is where IBM differentiates in this view to confidently take enterprise AI to market, understand the origins of your data, how your models were built, how that AI can be deployed to production. And what we've done internally to make that happen, we've shared as a public case study on IBM.com. So anyone can go out and look, and it's in a good amount of detail around taking the people, process, and technology of governance internally so that we can respond more quickly to changing regulations and govern our process internally. I'd encourage you to take a look at that. All right, so let's pivot to the second part and think about our adoption of this technology in what we call client zero. So if you think about adoption of this technology, we're looking to drive productivity in our business just like you are. And we're looking to do that confidently in as many parts of the business as possible, as quickly as possible. And so our goal internally that we've announced is to be one of the most productive companies in the world. And Client Zero is our journey to take our technology in terms of AI and automation and apply it in various lines of businesses and drive productivity. And so far, we've been tremendously successful. Coming into 2025, in our earnings announcement, we announced $3.5 billion in productivity gains since we started this initiative back in 2022. And we're projected to take that $3.5 billion to $4.5 billion at the end of this year. And I know that's large numbers and it doesn't necessarily translate, but the point is, with these capabilities, there's a tremendous amount of opportunity for those in this room and for businesses at large to drive results that will fuel our innovation in our businesses and drive growth, to remove costs from projects and have self-funding projects that drive that innovation and growth. So if we look at the pillars of Client Zero, our point of view is we start by living the hybrid cloud and AI mission that we're on in our businesses internally first. And that means looking at all our processes across the business and applying technology wherever we can. And that leads to these self-funding projects I mentioned that reduce our costs, that free up cash flow so we can invest in technology and things like talent acquisition, our acquisitions of companies, innovation, and drive that next level of turn of the crank forward in this space. And it has the added benefit of, well, is taking our technology that we're offering in the market and stress testing it in an extremely large organization like IBM so that our customers like you can take that technology and adopt it in your businesses confidently as well. And the principles that are here that were guiding that mission and that goal of becoming one of the most productive companies in the world, we've taken an approach to look at complexity in our organizations, simplify end-to-end workloads, take automation wherever we can in the business, and embed AI everywhere. And that's led to results internally that drove those savings that I just mentioned before. And if you look at some of the spaces, these are spaces that would be in any company, yours included. So I'll talk about HR a little bit more in detail in a moment, but in kind of moving around this space, you can see some of the results and how those break down. One example is in our customer support for software support cases. You can imagine how much just the basic summarization of cases with a customer, how that technology goes a long way to be able to cover more cases for a support engineer, handle more situations, more knowledge bases that are developed. This technology is fundamental for just improving this customer software support business and driving that support with our clients. Similarly for marketing, if you think about the different personas that you have and how many more personas and getting closer to that individual marketing goal that you might have, think about how much more this technology can drive marketing. And we've seen gains internally for us around the additional content generation that we can have. And similarly for our developers that are creating code generation in this space is something that now is depended upon and drives efficiency. In this case, we're talking about playbook development, but the technology is there and driving those benefits. And you see others on this slide as well. If I drill into HR a bit more, speaking as an employee of IBM, I don't think we've ever done a better job of taking our technology and putting it front and center for our employees. And it's an experience where we get to touch and feel this technology every day. And I'll show this in a moment, but with Ask HR, we go to one platform, ask the various questions that we have, and get a 94% rate of coverage through AI on that request before it needs to go to someone to help us out. So it's a lower cost solution with higher employee satisfaction and in this case, a 55 improvement in Net Promoter Score. So a tremendous story of just something that we use every day that we didn't have access to before this technology was here. It makes our lives easier. So this isn't something that is just for IBM. And part of the reason that I'm here sharing this is hopefully you see your lines of business in this space and you see actions that you can take to adopt this technology. And these are examples of the types of assistance and value that we provided to clients that we work with. But hopefully you can see additional examples in that Client Zero story for you to adopt in your enterprises. So I'd say, as you're here, and to wrap up, is IBM the most productive company in the world? Maybe not. We're making tremendous progress. You've seen some of those numbers. And I'd ask you while you're here, while you're looking at technologies that you're seeing and you're being exposed to here, think about how you can apply this technology in your businesses today and how you can drive similar results today in production confidently, leveraging enterprise AI with a solid foundation of data and data governance. So thank you for your time. Enjoy the rest of the conference. And if you have any questions, you're welcome to jump by our booth and reach out, and we're happy to engage and answer questions. Thank you.